All right, what's good, YouTube? We back with another video. Before we get anything, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Today we are talking about the college football top 25. We know that week 11 just occurred this past weekend. We're in the thick of the playoff race. Conference championships are being determined at this point. So after week 11, Oregon remains up top, number one in the polls. They had a win over Maryland. But they still due for a loss at some point in the year, whether it be in the Big Ten championship or hell, even in the playoffs. But Oregon always does this every year. Get your hopes up, and they're going to lose a game that they probably shouldn't lose. Next, we got Ohio State. They got a big game against an undefeated Indiana team. Lucky for them, it's a home game. And after that, they have a shell of Michigan, which Ohio State should win that game. You got Texas. They made light work of Florida. The following games they have is Arkansas, Kentucky, and a big rivalry game at Texas A&M that does have playoff implications and SEC championship implications. Penn State, they got a couple bad teams left on their schedule, whether it be Purdue, who's 1-8, and Minnesota. I know Minnesota's 5-4, but still weaker competition. Indiana, like I mentioned before, they got the big game on 11/23 at Ohio State. That is, they have to win that if they want this storybook season to continue. And they've been playing well so far. But again, they haven't played a whole lot of anybody, to be honest. Then you got Tennessee. They got a big game against Georgia this weekend. Georgia just had a loss to Ole Miss. Carson Beck has been a turnover machine the past couple weeks. Tennessee is up top in the SEC standings right now. They control their own destiny. They can win. Hell, they could win out and make it to the SEC championship and the playoffs. But they got to beat Georgia. Do I think they do that? I don't think they're going to have Georgia lose 2 weeks in a row to Ole Miss and Tennessee. I would love to see it. But I think for the sake of making things more interesting, it'll be a Tennessee loss. So they'll have Arkansas and Georgia's losses, and a big win being Alabama. And it keeps Alabama in the playoff race too, with Tennessee being a 2-loss team. Assuming they lose to Georgia. If Georgia loses, they done. Plain and simple. Tennessee still has Vanderbilt on their schedule, and that's not even a guaranteed win either. We've seen this before in 2017. Then you got BYU, who stole a game in Utah, and the game that seemed like it was over. Late penalties saved them. BYU remains undefeated, and they got to close out their schedule, and they'll be in the Big 12 championship, and they will qualify for the playoffs. Notre Dame, they have a game against the undefeated Army team. They made light work of Navy. They might do the same with Army, and then you got a weak USC team on your schedule. And as long as A&M keeps winning, it helps Notre Dame because that's a good win for them. Georgia Tech beat Miami. That also helped Notre Dame as well. Then you got Bama, who just beat the hell out of LSU. They still somehow have a playoff shot. Even when the chips seem like they down for Alabama, they find a way to keep them afloat. And on their schedule, all they got is Oklahoma and Auburn left. And I don't see Bama losing to either one of them. Ole Miss, they had a big win over Georgia, like I mentioned before. Only thing left on their schedule is a Florida team that is on their third-string quarterback, Mississippi State, who is on their backup quarterback in Van Buren, and he struggled against Tennessee. With the Florida game, though, DJ Lagway might be able to play. We'll see. If Lagway doesn't play, that's going to be an easy win for Ole Miss. If he does play, it should still be a pretty easy win for them. And their playoff chances are looking pretty good right now. I mentioned Georgia before. They need to win out. They got to beat Tennessee. They already got 2 SEC losses, that being Ole Miss and Alabama. Yeah, they got to get it together. And the biggest thing about Georgia was not having McConkey or Brock Bowers really hurts them, especially on third down, because last year when they was in these same situations against certain teams, there would be a third down, third and long, third and whatever, and Brock Bowers would always bail them out. And if it wasn't him, it'd be Lad McConkey. You don't have that anymore, so that's what's hurting Georgia. Miami finally caught an L. We knew they was due for a loss because they was just skating by game after game after game, whether it be Virginia Tech, Cal, Louisville. It was bound to happen sooner rather than later. And it happened against Georgia Tech. They still have a chance at the playoffs, but it really hurt them. And it hurt Cam Moore's Heisman stock a little bit too. Then you got Boise State. They still winning thanks to Ashton Genty. Not much to say there. SMU, surprise team. They're in a good position right now. They only got the one loss to BYU, who's undefeated. And the only games left is Virginia and Cal. And they can still get to the ACC championship game in their first year in the ACC. So things going to be real interesting in the ACC with Clemson, SMU, Miami, Pitt. How they gonna have them shuffle? Because like I said, SMU got one loss. Miami has one loss. Pitt has 2 losses. Clemson has 2 losses. Then we got another Texas team, Texas A&M. They had a loss to South Carolina, which was their first SEC loss because the other loss was in the season opener to Notre Dame. Second in the SEC standings right now, behind Tennessee. They just got to beat Texas. It's that simple. Army, 9-0. Funny. Army and Navy had these great years the same year of the election. Assuming they went out, but they got to beat Notre Dame, they can make the playoffs. Next, we got Clemson. They can still make the ACC championship game, but they need a little bit of help. If they do make the playoffs, I do not expect much of anything out of them. One of them teams that does not like to use the transfer portal. We've seen how they've done in big games in recent years. It ain't been the same Clemson. Then you got Colorado. Colorado is quietly 7-2. They only have Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State left on their schedule, all winnable games. They can make it to the Big 12 championship, possibly the playoffs, which could help Travis Hunter's Heisman campaign. Good promo. I mean, it's prime time. Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, the list goes on in a playoff game. It'd be good views. They really haven't played anybody all year, to be quite honest with you. You got Wazoo, 8-1, quietly 8-1, granted much weaker schedule with the Diet Pac-12 scheduling they have now. K-State, 7-2. They had a win against Colorado early in the year. And they have Arizona State, Cincy, and Iowa State left. Iowa State's had a couple stumbles here and there. They could possibly get that game. That'd be a big win for them, too. Because currently, as it stands in the Big 12, you got BYU, Colorado, Iowa State, and Kansas State. Colorado having 2 losses, Iowa State with 2 losses, and K-State with 2 losses, BYU being undefeated. LSU lost to Bama and A&M. Their playoff hopes are cooked. Louisville, they gave Miami a run for their money, but they fell short. Solid team, but again, no playoffs. They last chance having the playoffs was when they played SMU. Then you got South Carolina, a team that could possibly beat Clemson. They played Bama close. Should have beat LSU. They had 16 points taken off the board due to penalties. Recently beat a solid Vanderbilt team. Same Vandy that beat Bama, mind you. And Beamer ball's in full effect. They have more returning seniors than any other school in the nation. Solid defense. Lenore Sellers maturing as a quarterback. I was saying this in the middle of the season. I'm glad Tennessee didn't have to play South Carolina because Tennessee damn sure would have lost to them, especially if it was at South Carolina. Then following them, you got Missouri, who are frauds. We all knew that. And Tulane at 8-2. So, yeah, that's been the top 25 following week 11 as we go into week 12. We're going to definitely see some more upsets, keep things shuffling with the playoffs. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. Another episode of Pregame Pick'em, Thursday night as usual. Link in the Discord will be in the comments or in the community tab or in the description or wherever the hell I put it. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video. Share it on Twitter, Facebook, wherever, Instagram, all that stuff. We out.